obviously Unilever is such a huge company with so many things going on. But I remember one of the things that got quite a bit of attention before you arrived was the work that was done with Oxfam to analyse what was the economic impact of Unilever in Indonesia.
Yeah, Indonesia.
And it showed this real interest in saying, yes, we want to do well by doing good, and we're interested in all of these extras that come with corporate responsibility. But actually, our core business is that helping or hurting in these areas. And obviously, there was an intuition that it was helping, but there were quite a lot of critics who say, oh, well, this is all about extracting value from poor countries and not really adding anything to it. Obviously, the report came to a resounding conclusion that it was a beneficial thing.
Yeah.
In many ways, what I've sort of seen from Unilever during your tenure has been a reinforcement of that, in that, one of the three top goals that you've had of creating value to billions of people, a lot of the focus of that has been on the impact of lives of people in developing countries, in areas
and globally now,
difficult markets. What do you think have been the main learnings from your time here, and how that has progressed? How do you make that positive impact in those difficult markets while still being sufficiently financially successful that you get licensed to do what you want to do?
Well, I would actually turn this around, and I think that we might have shown that over the last 10 years. Over the last 10 years, our financial return has been about 300%, 290% to be exact in total shareholder return. We've had over 30 years of dividend increase of about 8% on average. So the people that have held our shares have done extremely well. We operate our business with a return on invested capital of 19%, which is one of the highest in the industry. And our share price, despite very tough markets, which have proven to be much more difficult than in the past, has most of the time outperformed the market. So a responsible growth model is also good for our shareholders. What I've continued to say is, and made that very clear and very strong, is that our objective is not to chase shareholder return. Our objective is really to run this company for the people we serve. And by doing that very well, we have as a result a good shareholder return. And I think that's increasingly being shown. The first thing I had to do, because we became too short term as well, we had to move this company back to the long term. I stopped quarterly reporting, I stopped giving guidance, we changed our compensation system and many other internal systems to make people really focus on the longer term.
Yes.
If you want to solve these issues of climate change or poverty or food security, you cannot do that with the quarterly hype. And unfortunately, the quarterly hype in the US, for example, if you look over the last 20 years or so, you've seen the number of publicly traded companies go down from 7,000 to about 3,600 now. So we're killing the goose with the golden eggs. We're concentrating prosperity in less and less people, and we're not addressing these longer term issues. That's why you have Brexit, that's why you have the yellow jackets,
yes,
and that's why you have Trump in the US and Bolsonaro in Brazil, and the list goes on. That's why populism is on the rise. So we've discovered in the financial crisis, I think, above all, that although our system had lifted a lot of people out of poverty, we'd done extremely well, but it was unsustainable. High levels of debt, government and private, overconsumption, too many people left behind. And if these societies don't function, or if too many people feel they're left behind, our business will not work either. Businesses cannot succeed in societies that fail. So as it turns out, that it's actually a very good business model, that if you sensibly, you cannot eat the elephant in one bite, but if you sensibly start to positively address these issues, you will do very well, because the citizens of this world will embrace you.
Yes.
CSR is not enough anymore, because it's about making it less bad, but still making it worse in a society where many of the planetary boundaries are already beyond what is minimally acceptable. The citizens of this world will be looking for companies that have a positive influence. So our whole model that we put in place, which is quite a step change, is it to integrate it, to move from CSR to what I call RSC, responsible social corporations, where the whole essence of our strategy is this purpose-driven model, where all of our brands fulfill the requirements of some of the famous sustainable development goals. Yes. And what we see is that the more we address that, Dove chasing women's self-esteem, Knorr working on food security or stunting, Domestos, a toilet bowl cleaner, helping solve the issues of open defecation, or bar soaps helping a child reach the age of 5. The more we do that, the more we actually are in touch with the real needs of society, the better we develop our brands, the better these brands relate to the citizens, the more they embrace us. Our growth rates over the 10 years have been at twice the industry growth rates.
Yes.
And our TSR is in the top tertile as a result of that. So we've taken this concept from Lord Lever of what you explained in Indonesia, that we are there for the benefit of these countries. And if these countries do well, we will do well. It's not the other way around. For that reason, we've been able, during my tenure, to expand our businesses in the emerging markets from about 45% of our turnover to over 60% now. At a time, actually, that the emerging markets have been under pressure and currencies have come down. Under normal circumstances, we probably would have been 75%.
Yes.
On top of that, I've made most of my acquisitions, which is still the case. We've made 52 acquisitions during the last 10 years, but we've made those basically in the developed markets.
Yes.
So despite having made these acquisitions, despite the currency weaknesses in the developing markets, we've still moved that business up to 60%. And it pays out. I remember Ethiopia, which will be the second biggest country in Africa after Nigeria. But the president called me and he said, we want you to be in Ethiopia. I said, well, we might not be ready yet. The country might not be ready yet. He said, well, we already have the land. We've done work with consultants and we carefully select the companies that come in. So we start there with oral care, oral hygiene. 50% of the people don't go to school because of oral problems. We start with hand washing. There's still issues of trachoma or cholera or other things that we can deal with the simple act of hand washing with Lifebuoy. We go into schools with nutritional programs and we build up the credibility. Sure, we invest in those countries, but we show that we are there for the long-term interest of the country. Now, put yourself about 5 years later, we have the biggest consumer goods business in Ethiopia and are in partnership with the government and civil society there around many projects that make our business successful for the long term. It's an interesting anecdote from India where I never understood when all the foreign companies got nationalized in India in the 70s, we did not get nationalized. We had to go down to 51%, but we didn't get nationalized. So when I came here, I looked into that. I said, why is that the case? And actually, the Indian government at that time said, because Hindustan Lever, as it was called, works for the long-term interest of India.
Yes.
So it's an Indian company.
Yes.
So in Indonesia, we're an Indonesian company. In South Africa, we're a South African company. And that really pays out. That's not sustainability. That's responsible corporate citizenship. And that's the basis for that success that we have.